The Kardashians have finally stopped blackfishing and are re-emerging as the white women they always have been. And it's funny how it switches like that. Ahoy hoy family, it is your girl T, aka Nappy-Headed Jojoba. Not Nappy, not Jojoba, Nappy-Headed Jojoba. You have to say the whole thing. It's like a pimp named Slickback. I'm gonna keep this brief today. This is just a quick sip, because this ain't really tea. And it damn sure ain't no tea talk worth doing on Cum and Cletus deciding to downsize their BBLs and ramp up the lipo. Not that they'll ever admit to any of it. But I saw Kimberly Foster put up a video about the 2022 versions of these two, which I will link for y'all. And I wanted to add a few of my thoughts to her very salient points because I've been clocking a lot of the same things. I've always said that when it comes to YouTube content, one thing I'm not gonna do is make a video just to say something that someone else already said better, or if I have nothing to add to a discussion. On today, however, I feel like I do. A lot of y'all are like me, and y'all have never kept up with the Kardashians. That's why we can. We all know by now that that doesn't matter too much though, because they are trolling extraordinaires and they will slither their way into your feed with their one way or another. I follow raccoon meme pages and anarchists almost exclusively, and they still somehow manage to crowbar their way into my doom scrolling. So I'm sure that like me, a lot of you have seen headlines and or photos and or Lauryn Hill videos about the latest changes to those pincushions that these women call bodies. In short, Cum and Cletus are white again. I said it at the top. They've gone back to being white women because they were always white women. The reassertion of whiteness, this was always the plan, in my opinion. This was the long game for the Kardashians. To do the exact same thing that Fox and the CW did in the 90s, and that is to inculcate themselves into black culture, use that clout as leverage to build a platform, and then move on to going mainstream once said platform is large enough to no longer need to appeal to the same black audiences who put you on in the first place. It's basically the same dynamic as what OnlyFans tried to do last year, in their case using sex workers to build their name and then attempt to screw them over and abandon the very people who made them profitable to go mainstream and thereby, in theory, become more profitable. Again, going back to using and then dissing black people specifically, this is the exact strategy that built the Fox Network and the CW. After The Cosby Show became the sitcom in the late 80s and early 90s and made a metric ton of money for NBC, Fox, which was a new network and frankly a punchline at that time, they decided to try to appeal to black demographics to build the network's audience. This is how shows like Martin and In Living Color came to be, and in the case of UPN and the WB, which later merged to become the CW, shows like Moesha and the Wayans brothers, and of course, Homeboys in Outer Space. Never forget. There's a book about this exact strategy and time period. It's called Color by Fox. And I'll confess, I've only read parts of it, but I did use it as a reference material for a docuseries that I had to develop last year. So I'll link the book on not Amazon in the D box in case you're curious. Anyway, at least with Fox and them, we got Living Single and some other iconic shows out of the deal, you know? But with the Kardashians now reminding us that they have been white women the entire time with them, I don't know them rebrand. All I see are a bunch of biracial babies doomed to a lifetime of identity crises and body dysmorphia. This is tragic collateral damage. Oh, to be a fly on the wall when Cum and them have to explain to them kids that they don't look alike because the kids have mommy's old face. I think it's clear that I don't have the highest opinion of the Kardashians, but I do think that they knew exactly what they were doing when they built the foundation of their business on black artists. Quite the visual. They know as well as we do that there's no shortage of black males whose internalized anti-blackness leads them to declare loudly and proudly, often via podcasts, that their preference is a Kardashian or a woman just like them. The Kardashians capitalized upon and exploited the black male gaze, knowing full well that doing this would also draw the attention of black women. Ire is still attention, and these are not the first people to successfully monetize ire. Plenty of people are professional trolls. Not all black women and men fell for the okie doke, obviously, and I think plenty of black women realize that we are not in competition with people like Cum Kardashian because they can't compete with us. The particular type of black male she and her clones attract, Their preferences can have them. They're doing us a favor, trust. And despite Cum's gaggle of half-black babies being raised by nannies, Cum in particular has taken it beyond downsizing her diaper booty and cutting calories. She's moved on from her lunatic ex-husband and her roster of also black exes who came before him to the sentient STD that is Skeet Davidson, whom she even brought as her +1 to the Met Gala last month or whenever it was, which is another switcheroo. Because lest we forget, once upon a time, Cum couldn't even get a Met Gala invite after years of trying to. She eventually backdoored her way in as Kunye's +1, which is another great example of how this long-term strategy of using black culture to gain leverage in mainstream white culture has worked out exactly as planned. Again, it's funny how it switches like that. On top of that, and Kimberly Foster also touched on this point in her video that I mentioned earlier, we have the choice by Cum K to wear that Marilyn Monroe Bob Mackie dress to the Met Gala this year. I started to do a mini wrap on this dress drama in a lukewarm tea last month that just never happened, but it ties in with this here nicely, so go with me, won't you? First of all, can we quickly dig into the, in my opinion, bizarre outrage over Cum ruining that dress? I think it's a bit peculiar that so many people chose to ignore the actual context and history around that dress. You know, the when, where, why of it being worn in the first place, and they're creating some weird narrative as if that dress encapsulated the pinnacle of grace and class. The then president of the United States, JFK, was having an affair with a famous actress, Marilyn Monroe. She then wore a dress to his birthday celebration that was designed to make her look naked but also covered in sequins, and underneath said dress she was in fact fully nude and couldn't wear no drawers of any kind and had to be sewn into it, before then taking the stage to effectively taunt the president's wife, the first lady, and the country writ large about her affair with the president, the worst kept secret in America at the time, with her almost certainly under the influence rendition of the Happy Birthday song, as if to say, yeah, I'm fucking him. What you gonna do? This is so pre-social media era. I don't think we'll ever be able to fully understand the scale of this scandal within the moment, but we do know that in the broad sense, this was a big fucking deal. Now, when it comes to the moral implications of JFK fucking around on his wife or anything like that, I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't have time. I am saying all this to point to the fact that this thing with the dress was messy as fuck from the jump. So, while I roll my eyes at the idea of Cum wearing an iconic dead movie star's dress, which Cum couldn't even fit into anyway, because unlike Cum, I suppose it can be argued that at least Marilyn Monroe had talent, I also have to roll my eyes at the idea that that dress in specificular, was some sort of pristine symbol of Americana. Bitch, what? To be honest, Marilyn Monroe was low-key trolling everyone with that dress and the whole performance with it. So for Ray J's ex, whom we were first introduced to as a pornography actress and who has since used that to go on to troll her way to the top, being a multi-millionaire or probably a billionaire at this point, I guess you can say it just doesn't put my tits in a bunch in the way it did for so many people on the internet. The troll torch just been passed. As for Cum choosing that dress, again, it's just part of loudly asserting herself back into whiteness. And perhaps more importantly, assertively distancing herself from blackness. She and Cletus and the rest of them got what they needed from the black folks who were fucking suckers and fell for their shit, and now they're out. Their business model is just as cynical as it is successful. And I say, good riddance. Don't let the door hit you in that still very ridiculous looking ass on the way out. This is not an L for black people, unlike with Fox and them, where we lost a lot of dope black shows, black culture, all to wind up with 50-11 seasons of Bones. Get out of here with that bullshit. That's it. Short one today as promised, but if y'all are into this quick sip, as I think I'm gonna call it, let me know and I consider doing more videos like this because it's a bit less time consuming compared to compiling a bunch of topics for a lukewarm tea. If you're not the commenting type, and I don't blame you because neither am I, just hit the thumbs up so I can gauge if this has an unusually high number of likes relative to however many views this here YouTube gets. That's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for sticking with me to the end, and make sure y'all stay safe, stay dangerous, and never trust anyone who is a genuine fan of Cum and Cletus. Bah.
That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm going to tell you that now.